All right, number 23 on the review. Looking at this, they want us to solve this thing by graphing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two different functions. Y equals 0.5 to the x and y equals 4. Okay. So if I was to graph this right here, I go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that would be a line right here. Okay, that's how that one would graph. This one's an exponential. It's going to look something like this, and I'll get to more detail here in a second. But really what I want to do is if I can graph this one on top of this one, I just want to find out where they cross at. If they cross here, or if, this is less than 1, so, do they cross over here? And that's really what I'm going to try to do right now. So I got this. I'm going to have to make a table of points to create a shape to determine is it like that, or is it like this, or whatever the case may be. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to plug in some x's. I'm going to get out some y's. I can just use a calculator for this. So my function is 0.5 to the x. So I'm going to plug in 0, 1, 2, -1, and -2. I'm just going to enter these into a calculator. And if I do that, I get a 1 if I put a 0 right there. If I put a 1, I get a 0.5. If I do a 2, I get 0.25. If I plug in a -1, I get 2. And if I plug in a -2, I get 4. Okay. So if I was to graph this thing, and now it's going to be much better on graph here, which you'll have on your test. But okay, so I'm going to graph the other function that I had. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's this line right there. And then this one goes to the 0.01. It goes to the 1.5. Goes to the 0.2 1/4. -1 and 2. And -2 and 4. So you can see here this is going to be going like this. And if you look, that's where they cross, and that is the coordinate point -2, 4. Well, they really only want the x value, so my answer is the x equals -2. Okay. The next is a family purchases a car for $20,000. The car decreases 20% each year. After 6 years, the family decides to sell the car. Should they sell it for $4,000? Explain using a complete sentence and mathematical reasoning. So let's come up with a function to represent what it is. Okay? So we're going to say y equals the initial amount. Okay? Now, it's decreasing by 20%. Okay? So that's 0.2, but I have to subtract it from 1. So I'm going to be 0.8. I want to figure 6 years. Okay? And if I figure that out, do 0.8 to the 6 times 20, that comes out to about $5,242.88. Well, I definitely don't want to sell it for $4,000 because it's worth more. So answering in a complete sentence, I would say something along this: after 6 years, the value of the car is about or approximately $5,000. Selling it for $4,000 would be below the value and not a good idea. Last question here. We're going to go ahead and write the explicit and the recursive formulas. So here's the sequence for the first one. So you can see this is getting bigger. So we're definitely looking at an r greater than 1. Okay. So the first thing I do, I'm going to find my a sub 1, which is my first term. Okay. And then I'm going to find the r. You get that from doing the right term over the left term. And then I believe that is 6. Okay, so there's my two crucial pieces of information. So the recursive formula right, is just A of n equals, A of n minus 1 times the R value. The explicit formula is A of n equals A of 1, in this case is 14. The R value is 6, and it's to the n minus 1. Now the second part is 200, 100, 50, and 25. So, going back to where I just was. So my first term was 200. I want to do the, for the R, I want to do the right term over the left term. Okay. So that's a half. So my recursive formula is A of n minus 1 times the R value. My explicit formula is A of 1, which is 200, times the R value to the n minus 1.